Joining me now is Dinesh D'Souza, conservative author and filmmaker, host of the Dinesh D'Souza podcast, starting on Monday. Dinesh, I can't help but think that Biden's promise of healing and unity, well, that's been swiftly followed by an attempt by his friends to eradicate all dissent.
I think what we've seen today is just horrific, and it, in a sense, almost puts the country into a kind of free fall. It's one thing to face disappointment and even frustration over an election. It's a complete other thing to say that all these new technologies that people have now integrated into their normal lives, ways in which they get information, ways in which they communicate with their friends, ways in which they express themselves politically, that these are going to be somehow snuffed out and closed to them, and that this is being done in a systematic way, not just against the President of the United States, banned permanently from these platforms, but also against ordinary citizens trying to speak out. I cannot think of a more horrific development. One of the most important things in an election, once the election is over, is to make your political opposition feel safe, to believe that the new government will represent their interests as well as the interests of the people who voted for that government. And the Biden administration and the left is doing exactly the opposite. They are terrifying the opposition into believing, ultimately, that not only will they have lost politically, but their basic civil liberties are now mortally endangered.
But don't they see that this is going to backfire? That this never works. I mean, it feels good in the moment. You feel like you have the wind at your back. But ultimately, it's going to grow the MAGA movement. I have no idea what President Trump is going to do. But that movement of people, it's not like they're going to say, oh, you banned me from Twitter. I'm definitely going to be on your side now.
There's no question that the MAGA movement will find its own outlet, and there's no question that it will ultimately find its voice. But I think what's disturbing here is the mentality of the other side. There's a certain jubilation on the left. They're actually providing lists of people to be banned next. And so I think all of this is really showing that you've got all these people in our country who don't believe in basic civil liberties, and they are in powerful positions in tech and in the media and so on. So all of this means that ultimately the MAGA movement has to find its own voice, its own institutions, perhaps its own educational institutions, its own cultural institutions, its own comedians, make its own movies, have its own schools, because we're not going to be safe, it doesn't seem, in Biden's America.
CNN's Brian Stelter was positively giddy today over the news.
This is a moment in Silicon Valley history, as well as a moment in political history. And this has significance all around the world, Wolf. So many world leaders use Twitter to communicate. But this is a historic moment where Twitter has stepped in and said, no, that world leader, the United States president, is too dangerous to use our platform.
I don't even know. I'm going to try to be charitable on a Friday night, so I'm not going to say anything. Dinesh.
Well, I think what you're seeing really is the kind of, when you had the infamous, it's now memorialized in photographs, the Nazi book burning, you see all these people dancing around the fire with these books being lit on fire. Now, I'm not making a direct analogy with Nazism, but what I am saying is that there is a certain tyrannical streak which comes out when other people are shut up and shut down, and the jubilation that you can almost feel in Stelter's voice. I mean, there's a streak of fascism there that's very difficult for people who have any sense of history not to immediately recognize.
Yeah, you had, in the last 24 hours, you had Michelle Obama calling for more corporate censorship of the president. You had Hillary Clinton tonight tweeting out check because she's told Trump to delete his account back in 2016. So she felt very self-satisfied. So you have some of the richest, most powerful political and tech individuals in the world banding together. So it's a combination of government actors and business together to squelch speech. They have crossed the Rubicon. And I think conservatives are all taking note. And I think they're going to grow the conservative movement. Forget the Republican Party right now. They're going to grow the conservative movement. They kick the hornet's nest in a big way, and it's really not. It's actually dumb. That's why I'm saying the establishment is not that smart. Dinesh, thank you so much.